You already know, definitely had to get into this Brian Flores situation. I'm an avid sports fan. I love football, baseball, basketball, all the major sports and everything like that. But, this Brian Flores situation is pretty much nothing new to, you know, us black fans or just black people in general in America because this is just not an NFL problem. Like, this is a problem in America, period, where you have qualified black candidates that get constantly passed over or unfairly let go, fired, just because the color of their skin, and it's just like as far as us getting opportunities and things of that nature. In the workplace, like if it's not a warehouse job where you get hired on the spot, but then you got to work your way up. And I've seen like a couple of my coworkers who are black, and it took them like but it took them a lot of interviews and stuff like that just to get promoted. Where I've seen like white candidates or whatever, they get the shit like first shot on the interview, and like shit is crazy. So Roger Goodell told teams on Saturday that the league will look to bolster policies meant to encourage hiring minorities, particularly as head coaches. And he pledged an investigation, which is actually kind of funny. It's like the NFL investigating themselves of wrongdoing is funny as shit. Like you got to get a independent person who has no ties, no dog in the fight. That's the only time like I would really trust the shit. But that's like having cops sit up there and police themselves. Like, oh, we checked into the shooting and we're policing ourselves and we found that we did no wrongdoing. Like, fuck out of here. Nobody believes that shit. So particularly head coaches, as he pledged an investigation into tanking allegations raised by Brian Flores in this discrimination lawsuit against the NFL. Now, in the NFL, like tanking that's been there for like a minute, man. Like teams be tanking all the time. Like especially if they feel that there's a franchise quarterback in the draft and stuff like that. Like they'll tank. And with the NFL, like it's blatantly obvious that these teams are tanking. Like take the Giants for example, but they just completely gave up late in the season where you're within the 5 yard, you're within your own 5 yard line, and I think it was like third down or something like that, and like the coach, I forgot what the hell his name is. He ended up getting fired anyway, but he ran like a fucking goal line play like on the 5 or some shit like that, like not even trying to get a first down. I'm like, yo, your team just packed it in. They're just trying to solidify their draft stock or whatever. Because the Giants, they got like 2 first round picks and things of that nature. So I'm just like, yeah, you guys just clearly gave it up. But teams have been tanking like all the time. But it's just crazy like how you know Brian Flores and Hugh Jackson, like they came out and said like the owners were trying to incentivize tanking. Like in Brian Flores's case, the Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, like he tried to give him like 100,000 for every game that they lost, and like that's mad fucking that's mad money if you really look at it. Like 100,000, pretty much. Now you get like 17 games, so that's an extra game. So imagine if you went 0-16, like that's mad bread. Or even if you went 1-15 or 1-16 now, like that's mad bread. Like I wonder if like the Lions, when they went 0-16, they were the first team to go 0-16. If the management or the ownership over with the Lions was like, yo, fuck it, like just we'll give you a certain amount of money if you lose every single game. Now with them, I think they were actually really trying to win, and they just fucking suck. Like the Lions have been a terrible organization for a very long time, and like I with them, I think they were trying to win. Even when Hugh Jackson went 0-16 in Cleveland, I think that he was actually like honestly trying to win. It's just they kind of they he was playing a rigged game. Like pretty much like he was actually really out here trying to win a game, like trying to win games and stuff like that. But he stated that, pretty much like he was just they looked at him as, yo, you just coach the team and let us pretty much like, all right. So the analogy is like you cook the dinner, we buy the groceries. So he had no say in the players that he wanted to draft and everything like that. And so it was just like, all right, we're gonna buy the ingredients. You put this shit together, even though you know what players fit in your scheme, and you and your coaching staff know what players fit in your scheme, but they won't give you those players. So, and I think they sent them up ultimately to fail when they drafted Baker Mayfield because they're trying to say like, oh, Baker Mayfield is the quarterback of the future for the Browns, blah blah blah, and all this and that. I'm like, yo, this nigga is really like maybe a better version of Johnny Manziel right now. Like he's Johnny Manziel without the fucking drug and alcohol problem. So he can win you some games a little bit, but he's not going to take you to where you need to go. Like that. That's what I'm looking at. So pretty much like tanking allegations, like just it's taken to a whole new level now because like now they're saying like now they're trying to they're incentivizing you, like they're giving you a reason to lose, like to throw games. And as an NFL head coach, especially as a black head coach, like you got to show results immediately because if you don't, like you don't get a chance to fulfill your whole 5-year contract. No, you get fired within 1 to 3 years of your coaching job. Look at the dude over in Houston that got fired. The coach that got fired over in Houston. He walked into a shitty situation. Like honestly, it's like being a black coach from what I see is like it's a catch-22 because most of the time you're walking into a fucked up situation, but it's like you don't have the privilege to turn that shit down because like pretty much like as a black head coach in the NFL, like that shit, like the coaching opportunities are not going to come. They come once so often. So this might be your only opportunity to get a head coaching job. So it's like you kind of got to take it, even though it's a bad situation. Like with the Texans, pretty much like the head coach, he was walking into a shitty job. Bill O'Brien pretty much fucked the whole organization over before he got fired. Traded DeAndre Hopkins, pretty much like that started a downward spiral with Deshaun Watson, and then on top of that, he had those sexual assault allegations following him, so he didn't want to play just because he felt that the management disrespected him without consulting on him, just involving him in the decision about like the next GM and the coach and everything like that, and. So, they let J.J. Watt walk because J.J. Watt finally had enough. They done wasted a decade of that man's career. So pretty much like he was walking into a shit show. And for the most part, like he did, I guess, as good as you could really do in a situation like that. Like really, like your team sucks and you know it. But like you're trying to build something and then like they only give you a year and then they fire you. So like the shit is crazy. And like on top of that, your star quarterback really sat out like the whole entire year. Like he's not fucking with the organization at all. Like that's just fucking crazy. So, you're walking into mind traps and shit like that. But it's like I said, like you don't have the luxury of turning down jobs and stuff like that because these jobs don't come around often. And then on top of that, like if you don't produce and you get fired, then most of the time like you get relegated back to coordinator positions if you're lucky. But Hugh Jackson, like he said, he felt like he was blackballed out of the league after the Cleveland situation, and like he really doesn't expect to get a coaching opportunity to arise, like to go back to the NFL. So he's focused on building up Grambling State's program. So he's the head coach over there. So which we need more coaches to try to build up HBCUs and everything like that. Like that's a totally different subject, but I like that now. We're putting resources and everything like that, like just to try to get HBCU programs to where these big name schools are. You got Deion Sanders down in Jackson State. He's starting to build up that program. Had a successful first season, and look to continue to build on that. Got Eddie George, I think, in Tennessee State. You got big name coaches or big name players who were big name players. Now they're getting into coaching, and trying to build up HBCU programs. So I love to see that. So now the commissioner said the commissioner added that the league's record on hiring minorities has been unacceptable. See, what people don't understand is Roger Goodell is, in my opinion, he's just a highly paid employee of the NFL because, yes, he's the commissioner. He hands out punishment and things of that nature, but he ultimately works for the owners. And there's like, 29 white owners, and then like 2 owners are minorities. Like you got Shad Khan down in Jacksonville. That dude's a bumbling idiot. And I think one of the other owners is Asian, I think. But so you have these people who are not people of color, well, besides 2 owners, and pretty much like the league, like 70% of the players or 75% of the players are black on the field. And then like once you leave the field and you start to go up, there's fewer and fewer minorities. So it's like, who do we have in there that can actually look us out? Like, these white folks be looking each other out. Because as of right now, like the whole trend for coaches now is like they're just hiring dudes who never had head coaching experience or never had coordinator experience. Like they're just hiring dudes as like O-line coaches, special team coaches. Like, fucking what's that quarterback's name? He was a backup for the Eagles. Like Josh McCown. Josh McCown, he had high school experience. Yes, he was a journeyman in the NFL, and then backup quarterback for like 18 years. But like I understand, like you got playing experience, but you don't have like coaching experience. So, but your coaching experience is like high school, and he had got an interview in the NFL before like Eric Bieniemy, and like being considered for a job like before Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, pretty much like the whole damn Tampa Bay Bucks coordinating squad because they hire like a bunch of minority candidates. So I applaud Bruce Arians on that. Now I did hear like Ryan Clark say like pretty much like you only got really one black head coach now. And that's Mike Tomlin. He's been in Pittsburgh for 10 plus years, and he's like he would like to see him hire more minorities on the staff, but he understands that he really can't because he has to look out or keeping his job. You know what I'm saying? So like Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh, which is helping him keep his job over there, being a successful head coach. He won a Super Bowl, and on top of that, he has what's probably the best situation for a minority coach. But as far as ownership goes, because it's ran by the Rooneys, and the Rooney Rule is named after the original owner of the I think it's Art Rooney of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like he really wanted to see minorities get ahead and things of that nature. But like the NFL and these other owners, like they just disregarded that whole entire rule and just give sham interviews with minority coaches. So it's like that you have to have at least one minority coach. You have to interview at least one minority coach. So you might already have someone else in mind that you want to hire who's not black, but you got to bring in a black person just to waste their time and waste your time, interview him, and then fuck around and not hire him, and then hire like the white dude that you wanted to hire, who's probably less qualified, and like the shit is ridiculous. And like first of all, it's ridiculous that they even have a fucking rule for that shit. I think like black coaches are damn sure qualified or probably even overqualified. Because like I said, like you gotta be like fucking super Negro in order to like you gotta be the best of the best at what you do when you're black in America to even get a seat at the table. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, like you gotta still be super Negro to actually keep your job. Like the shit is fucking ridiculous. Like a white dude could be average and still make more money than a black dude who's like, or a black woman who's more qualified than, that candidate. And this is how America has always been. So, like, white fans and white people who were looking at this like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I didn't know this was going on. Like, dog, this shit's been going on for decades, my nigga. Even fucking centuries. But I'm gonna say decades because shit, we wasn't even really start able to work until like what? Like maybe 80, 70, 80 years ago or something like that. So, Brian Flores, he's black and he was fired as Miami's head coach last month, despite having back-to-back seasons. He was named. No, he named the league in three teams: the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Giants in a class action lawsuit. Now, this week, alleging unfair hiring practices in the NFL, which is not shocking. Now, after the lawsuit was filed, the league said it would defend itself against claims it said were quote unquote without merit. In subsequent days, the Dolphins, Broncos, and Giants issued their own denials of Flores' allegations. Now, it says the most serious allegation in the lawsuit in Flores' contention that the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, like I said, offered to pay him $100,000 for every loss during the coach's first season because the owner wanted the club to tank so he can get a top draft pick. Now, like I said, every fucking until they put in like a NBA draft lottery or something like that, which the purpose of the draft lottery for the NBA is to deter teams from tanking. Now, it didn't stop the my Sixers, from tanking for 5 fucking years. It kind of worked out. You got Joel Embiid. Everything else, like, pretty much didn't work out. Like, got Markelle Fultz. He didn't work out. Who else? The boy from Duke. I see his face. I can't remember his name. Damn, I forgot his name. Nerlens Noel. Like at one point, like we drafted like a big man 3 straight fucking years in a row. And then of course, bitch ass Ben Simmons, who refuses to improve his game. That's all Philly fans wanted him to do. That's all his teammates wanted him to do. He got called out on it, and he didn't want to play. So, pretty much like to deter tanking in the NBA, they put the lottery in. So it's just like, you finish with a really bad record. Like pretty much like if you finish with the worst record, you get the most ping pong balls in the thing, and then pretty much it's like a lottery, literally. So it's like if your number gets called, So you literally have the worst record in the league and still not get the number one pick. So they're trying to deter that shit. Then I think that's what the NFL needs to go to, but they refuse to do it. Now it says in another article, report that unnamed witness heard Stephen Ross offer Brian Flores $100,000 for each 2019 loss disappears from NFL.com. Now it says one of the most fascinating developments in a week full of them occurred when NFL Network, the media operation partially owned by Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, reported that an unnamed witness heard Ross offer former Dolphins coach Brian Flores $100,000 for each game he lost in 2019. The report, delivered on air by Cameron Wolf, became an article posted at NFL.com. Now the article is gone. The link is dead. The stack of news stories at NFL.com no longer includes it. Yo, if that doesn't tell you right there, he's trying to backpedal and cover his own ass. So, like, pretty much, like, he did it. Like, you can't tell me that Stephen Ross didn't do it. Stephen Ross is a dumbass anyway. And, like, nobody, like, there's been a lot of people that said, like, he's an asshole. Like, he's a rich old asshole. And this same dude that traded away, what's the wide receiver? Kenny Stills. He traded away Kenny Stills because Kenny Stills refused to, stop kneeling before the national anthem, or stop kneeling during the national anthem. So he didn't like that public protest. So he ended up, trading him away. Like, he's already shown who he is. And it says it's unclear when it disappeared. I checked to see if it was still alive on after Ross issued an aggressive statement late Wednesday describing the allegations as false, malicious, and defamatory. Currently, it's gone. The original link appears in the story we posted earlier on Wednesday, and says it's no surprise Ross faces potential criminal liability under the Sports Bribery Act. Now, the surprise is that the story was ever published in the first place. Did the folks who put it on the air and on the web realize they were jumping onto a third rail and accidentally trip over it? Or did they accidentally trip over it? Now, it says, even though the story is gone, the truth remains that an NFL employee is aware of the name of a witness who can corroborate Flores' claim for Ross offering cash for losses. So there is a witness out there. There is a witness, unnamed witness. So there's definitely some validity to Brian Flores' claims. Like, I believe them regardless. So, and they pretty much, like, Stephen Ross did him dirty in Miami. So he decided, fuck it. Like, I'm hitting back, and I'm hitting back hard. Now, this has, this has definitely what could be a bigger impact than Colin Kaepernick's situation. And Colin Kaepernick, like, he had the NFL dead to rights, and I don't know what the fuck my man did, but he chose the money over and the false hope of him ever playing again in the NFL. He chose that over, just destroying or, like, just forcing, like, real change in the NFL. And I don't know what the fuck happened. And pretty much, like, even in this class action lawsuit, I don't think Kaepernick can get in on that either, because, like, I think in the settlement, he had to sign off that he can never sue the NFL ever again. So he pretty much screwed himself for, a fraction of what he could have done. The money's cool and everything, but if you're really, really trying to force change like you said you were, like, you wouldn't have sold out like that. Like, that's the way I look at it. And, it's it's a shame. Like, dog, like if you are going to, you gotta live by your actions. You gotta live by you gotta live by your stand by your word. That's what I'm trying to say. Stand by your word. You say you're trying to bring change. You almost did, but then you sold out for the paper. So that's the way I look at it. Now it says, yeah. So that's pretty much it with this whole Brian Flores situation. Like it's going. It's still it's just getting started. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be like some more allegations and some more evidence and everything like that. He's been doing some interviews on some shows. Hugh Jackson has been doing some interviews on some shows as well. So I expect this is not done by a long shot, and I really do hope that this actually brings change to the NFL because for the most part, like, I love the sport of football, and this is pretty much like the only place that you can really get professional football. Like, it's not like they have anybody that's, rivaling that league, because every time like a league tries to get set up to rival the NFL, they get shut down. So, hopefully this will change the league, but ultimately the league ain't going to change until pretty much like ownership changes. And, you gotta still fight to get a seat at the table, and hopefully we can have more minority owners in the NFL. So, and pro sports, period, man, because in pro sports, like, they still won't really let black people or minorities, like, a seat at the table. Like, they just want to own that shit, and then they just want to run that shit. So pretty much, yeah, like that's pretty much it, man. Like, so I just wanted to touch on this subject, and like I said, hopefully this leads to change. But yeah, those are my 2 cents, and I'm definitely going to stay close to the situation, definitely monitor this. So thank you for listening, and I will catch up with y'all later, man. Peace.